Today, as we are facing the undeniable truth about climate change, it's clear that the future won't look like the world we know today. As resources are depleting, wild places will disappear. Future generation might have to live a very different life than we do today. In the years to come, survival might mean learning to live closer to the nature, finding clean water, building simple shelters, and working with the land to meet our basic needs. The New Wilderness by Diane Cook. There is a story about a group of people who have to leave the comforts of city life behind and live off the land of wilderness. It's hard and it's a big shift for them. They learn that nature has its own rule and they have to adapt to survive. But the main question is, do we really believe that the future generation will be able to survive in a world where they must depend on the wilderness without causing further harm to the environment? Let me help you to connect to our novel. Welcome to the New Wilderness. It consists of the city and the wilderness. The world has one giant city, overpopulated and polluted. The air is so toxic that people frequently fall ill. Nature is scarce with only a few trees left, usually locked away behind gates, admired from a distance. In contrast, wilderness represents the last preserved piece of nature, almost like a massive forest reserve. Though it's wild, it is supervised. Rangers patrol it, rules protect it, and even fire control systems are installed, making it more of a managed environment than a true wilderness. Now the question is, why our family is there? Agnes, the protagonist's young daughter, she was very sick and about to die, and her family wanted to save her life. There was an experiment going to happen. Can humans live in harmony with nature without causing further harm to it? Her father, Glenn, learns about this radical experiment and they decide to leave the city and live in wilderness.
This novel leaves us with the sense of the isolation, loss, and the struggle that defines the life in the wilderness. As the characters are pushed to their limits, we see how survival forces them to let go of their old comforts, connection, and in many ways part of themselves. This shows the clear image of what survival in extreme situations truly demands, not just the physical endurance but ability to adapt mentally and emotionally. Seeing the current situation of humanity, we are walking on the same path which leads us to the same world of wilderness. But this world of wilderness could be way more dangerous than our expectations. Looks like the situation could be dangerous out here as well. Let's keep moving forward. Talking about survival, we should learn how to survive in the wilderness, and that too from the best people. Talking about the best, for today's panel discussion, we have our special guests, the survivors themselves, who managed to survive in this extreme situation with their teamwork, optimistic approach, and keeping that little hope for humanity alive. Hello, fellow survivors. We are here to discuss one thing we have all been pretending we are great at: survival. Today's topic for discussion is: we are evolving into better humans or we are just prolonging our deaths?
It's probably the second one.
Oh, definitely the second one. If evolving means learning how to dig shallow graves quickly, then yes, I am evolving. Mom, you are great at graves. That last one? Perfect depth for keeping the coyotes out for at least a day. No offense.
None taken. You guys like Uber Eats for us, Same day delivery.
Well, glad to see we are starting with optimism. Carl, you seem to have a lot to say about surviving out here. Any wisdom for the group?
Wisdom? Sure. Here's my survival advice. Don't go into the wilderness in the first place. Or if you do, bring a good rope. But apparently that's too much to ask for.
Still with the rope, Carl? Carolyn got hit by a log the size of a truck. The rope wasn't going to save her unless it was a magic.
It was a damn good rope, okay? Better than anything else we have got out here, including some of the people.
Okay, moving on before Carl strangles someone with the leftover rope. Agnes, you've basically grown up out here. Any thoughts on how adults are handling this wilderness life?
It's hilarious watching you all. I mean, you have been out here for years and most of you still act like lost tourists. You would think after burying so many people you would get better at survival. But nope. Every river crossing is a death wish. That's my girl. Always looking on the bright side. By which I mean watching all of us slowly descend into madness. I mean, I have been waiting for Carl to snap completely. Just once. I want to see him lose it over something more exciting than a rope. Maybe when we finally run out of water or food.
Agnes, I've seen your hunting skills. We'll run out of food a lot faster with you in charge.
Hey, I can shoot a bow. Just not at anything big enough to eat. But hey, those squirrels won't know what hit them.
Let's hope it doesn't come to that. Speaking of people losing it, Ranger Rob, how's the Ranger team doing? You seem pretty calm, considering we are all one bad decision away from cannibalism.
Oh, we are doing just fine. You guys? Well, you are not supposed to be out here much longer, right? I mean, statistically speaking, you have already exceeded the average survival rate. So I would say you're doing great. Not many people or groups last this long. Usually we get like 2 seasons maximum before they start disappearing.
Disappearing? You mean dead, right? Or are you implying something worse?
Oh, sure, dead. That's what we tell the families. Haha. But hey, let's focus on the positives. You haven't died yet, so really kudos. You haven't died yet? TikTok, TikTok, humans.
Thanks, Bob. Really appreciate that vote of confidence. Maybe you can give me a nice headstone when I finally disappear in a river.
Don't worry, we'll wrap you in the last rope we have got.
Alright, alright. Let's talk about the real threat here the wilderness, the predators, the starvation, the constant moving. It's like Mother Nature is trying to kill us.
Trying? She's doing a great job if you ask me. I've seen more graves out here than squirrels, and squirrels are everywhere.
Yeah, but we can't eat graves, Agnes. Not yet, at least. Give it time.
Don't give them any ideas. Carl's already eyeing up like jerky every time we skip a meal.
Jerky? That sounds delicious. Maybe we'll wait until you humans are good and slow, tender.
Oh, I'm sensing a theme here. Bia, you have spent a lot of time thinking about survival. Any last bit of advice for those of us who still think we can beat the wilderness?
Here's my advice, stop pretending like you can win. You can't. Nature always wins. You want to survive? Lower your expectations. Accept that one day you are going to look up at the stars and realize it's probably the last time you will see them. And you will be cold and hungry, and you will wonder why you didn't just stay in the city.
Why didn't you cut the rope sooner?
You are really obsessed with that rope. Maybe it's a metaphor for your brain cells, tangled and fraying.
Oh, come on, B. You're tougher than that. And besides, with the right paperwork, we can get you all back to the city. After a few evaluations. Or you could stay here and save us the trouble. The wilderness loves fresh meat.
Who needs the city? The city is for weaklings. Out here, it's survival of the fittest. If you die, you were too slow. Simple as that. That's the spirit, Agnes. She is definitely going to outlive all of us.
Well, let's hope we don't have to find out. Final thoughts. Let's start with the Kal before he chokes someone with that rope.
Final thoughts, yeah. Don't trust anyone with a knife near a river and always keep your best rope hidden. You never know who will try to cut it.
Carl, if you mention that rope one more time, I swear I'll use it to strangle myself just to get out of this conversation.
Well, jokes aside, we can all agree on one thing: surviving in the wilderness isn't easy. It takes strength, patience, and the willingness to work together. It's tempting to think that we are only prolonging the inevitable out here, but if we are being completely honest, there is something pretty remarkable about what we are doing. So, even in difficult situations when everything seemed against us, we have found ways to adapt. We have learned to protect each other, to make the best of what little we have, and maybe even to understand nature in a way we never actually did before. Sure, there has been a lot of struggle, but that struggle has brought us together in a way nothing else probably ever could.
So, while survival might be tough, maybe we are evolving after all into people who are resilient, who know how to face hard times, and who can find hope in each other, no matter how wild the world gets. After all, if we can survive each other, maybe we can survive anything. I'm glad we can laugh in the face of all this. Maybe that's the key, finding humor, even when things are tough. Who knows? Maybe that's what makes us human after all. For all our struggles, we are resilient. We make it through by leaning on each other. And as long as we keep doing that, maybe we can beat the odds out here after all.
Okay, that's all the time we have. In conclusion, probably we are not evolving, we are definitely not thriving, and the wilderness is hungry. Thank you so much, guys, for these valuable insights. Maybe not that much valuable, but still, you guys are brave enough to survive in the wilderness. But I doubt future generation might not be able to survive and evolve, keeping everyone together. And students, please drop your questions for our survivors in the comment section. After all, you don't want to lose your 15 marks. Now let's ask our fellow batchmates what would they choose? Whether they would choose to stay in the polluted city or would they choose to move into the wilderness to avoid air pollution and manage the difficulties of wilderness.
I would like to remain in the cities because cities have better facilities, including hospitals, temperature cooling areas, and better infrastructure, which are required very much in harsh climatic conditions. But in case of wilderness, we will lack of these facilities. So we just have to manage between the pollution levels and climate change.
Living in the wilderness, it could be difficult, but it is exciting. With the climate change, it could be hard to live in city, but the wilderness will provide us a good environment. So it is a better option than city. So I will choose to live in wilderness.
For me, these things doesn't matter much. For me, what matters is where the people close to me are. If they want to go to wilderness, I'll follow them. Or even if they want to live in a city, I'll live with them.
I will prefer to live in a city because I think that if I will be safe and I will be comfortable, then I can think about my children or whatever. And if I am good, then only I can take care of my family and my relatives. So, and obviously, technology has always brought solutions to all the problems that humankind has faced over time. So, like air pollution is something which is very common nowadays, and there are some solutions to that as well, like air purifiers. So, and obviously in the future there will be better solutions for this.
As we wrap up this journey through Dan Cook's The New Wilderness, let's take a moment to reflect on the deeper messages of this powerful story. At first glance, the novel presents a dystopian world, but as we delve deeper, we see that it's really a mirror reflecting our world today and raising vital questions about our relationship with the planet. At the heart of the new wilderness is a simple yet profound idea. The Earth's resources are finite, and every decision we make ripples outward, affecting not just the land but future generations. The characters in this novel, led by Beer, are thrust into a world where they must survive without the comforts and conveniences of modern life. Here, survival isn't just a physical challenge, it's a moral and emotional one, testing how far they are willing to go to preserve both their lives and land. It's a harsh world, one that demands respect for the rhythms and limits of nature, and a world that leaves no room for the unsustainable habits of urban life. Through these characters and their struggles, Cook invites us to ask ourselves, what is the price of progress? As we look around, we see the very real impacts of urbanization, pollution, and climate change. Wildfires rage, oceans warm, and species disappear. We find ourselves at a pivotal moment, one that forces us to reconsider whether we are willing to make the changes needed to protect our own wilderness. This novel reminds us that the impact we have on the earth cannot be erased by technology alone. We need a mindset that values conservation, stewardship, and respect for natural limits. The wilderness state in the novel is more than just a setting. It's a living, breathing force that exposes both the fragility and the resilience of human beings. As Beer and the others navigate this landscape, they learn lessons that echo timeless truths. Survival depends on cooperation, on valuing what we have, and on adapting to what nature gives rather than imposing our will upon it. This story shows us that there is a cost to our detachment from nature, and it raises a crucial question. If we lose our bond with the natural world, do we also lose a part of ourselves? In the new wilderness, the characters must adhere to strict rules to minimize their impact on the land, a constant reminder that every action counts. This manual they follow becomes a symbol of what we may need in our own lives, a guide for living sustainably, for respecting the earth's boundaries, and for finding balance. The character sacrifices and struggles force us to think about the small changes we could make today that collectively could have a big impact. As we leave today, let's carry with us the novel's challenge to think differently, to question our habits, and to take responsibility for the footprint we leave behind. The New Wilderness doesn't just tell a story of survival, it urges us to embrace a renewed respect for the planet and to live with a greater awareness of our choices. Thank you for engaging with these ideas. I hope this novel and our discussion inspire each of us to take small steps toward creating a world that future generations can also call home.